Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where I'll be asking, does self-love mean that you need to stay single? I'm Soraya, a rapid transformation therapist, an NLP practitioner and a clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm so happy that you joined me today. But before we begin, some housekeeping. Please make sure that you're in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed and you've got a piece of paper and a pen. Now, I'm going to invite you to do some breath work with me. So on my counts, just inhale slowly through your nose and exhale completely through your mouth. And just allow yourself to be fully present as we explore this fascinating intersection of self-love and relationships. So today, we're going to examine a popular belief in modern wellness culture, which is that you have to fully love yourself before you can truly love someone else. But does this wisdom actually lead to healthier relationships, or is it simply an oversimplification that can actually keep us from having meaningful connections? A little bit about my background. I've worked with hundreds of clients navigating both singlehood and relationships, as well as going through a divorce myself and getting married again. So I've got a bit of my own experience there. What I've observed may surprise you. The journey of self-love isn't as straightforward as many influencers or self-help books suggest. Here's what we'll cover today. So first we will look at what genuine self-love actually involves. It's probably not what you think. The difference between healthy self-development and avoidance. How relationships can actually be vehicles for growth. Some practical techniques to nurture self-love, whether you're single or in a relationship. And lastly, there'll be a guided visualization to help integrate these concepts together. My goal for you today is to leave this webinar with clarity about your own journey and to give you tools to enhance both your relationship with yourself and with others. So let's start by addressing what self-love really means from a therapeutic perspective. Self-love isn't simply about bubble baths and positive affirmations, although they can be really nice. True self-love is about developing a healthy relationship with all parts of yourself, including the parts you may find challenging or uncomfortable. From my work as a therapist, I've observed that authentic self-love includes, firstly, self-awareness, understanding your patterns, triggers, and needs. Secondly, self-acceptance, which means embracing your whole self, including the perceived flaws and limitations. Thirdly, self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a good friend. Fourth, healthy boundaries, knowing when to say yes and no based on your true needs. And 5, personal responsibility, which means taking ownership of your growth and your healing. So let's take a deeper look at self-awareness. Many of us think we know ourselves really well, but often we're operating from unconscious patterns which are formed back in childhood. True self-awareness means recognizing not just your conscious preferences, but understanding your attachment style, core beliefs about relationships, and what psychologists call your emotional triggers. For example, if you find yourself frequently attracted to unavailable partners, self-awareness means investigating why these dynamics feel familiar rather than just blaming bad luck in dating. Self-acceptance versus self-improvement. There's an important distinction here. Self-acceptance doesn't actually mean giving up on growth. It means acknowledging your current reality without harsh judgment. From this place of acceptance, authentic change becomes possible. When we reject parts of ourselves, we actually make transformation harder, not easier. And notice that none of these qualities require you to be single. In fact, many people discover aspects of themselves through relationships that they couldn't access alone. The myth that you must completely love yourself before entering a relationship actually creates an impossible standard. Self-love isn't a destination you arrive at, it's a continual practice. And if we waited until we achieved perfect self-love, most of us would stay single forever. Our relationships act as mirrors which reflect parts of ourselves that we may not otherwise see. This mirroring can be both challenging, but it's profoundly healing. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how certain people trigger specific emotional responses in you? Maybe someone's neediness activates your discomfort with vulnerability, or maybe it's someone's success which illuminates your own insecurities. These triggers aren't reasons to avoid relationships. They're actually opportunities for growth and deeper self-understanding. So let's now look at the psychological concept of projection. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, described projection as our tendency to see in others what we can't or will not acknowledge in ourselves. And this isn't just theoretical, it's actually happening in our relationships every single day. When something about someone else particularly irritates us, it's often because it actually reflects of ourselves. So how does mirroring work in practice? Let me give you a concrete example. So, if you find yourself constantly frustrated by a partner's inability to express their needs, clearly it's worth exploring. How comfortable am I with expressing my own needs? Often, what frustrates us most in others reflects our own inner work. Through my clinical practice, I've witnessed countless clients make tremendous breakthroughs in self-awareness, specifically because of their relationships, not despite them. One client, whom I'll call Sarah, came to me convinced she needed to remain single until she fixed herself. Those were her words, which is why she hadn't dated in years. She had the pattern of attracting partners who didn't respect her boundaries, but through our work together, she realized that these relationships were highlighting her own difficulty evaluating her needs. The right relationship could actually support her journey towards self-love. And practical boundary setting could be learned within relationships, not just before them. And what's fascinating about Sarah's journey is that it was precisely through analysing her relationship patterns that she discovered her core belief, which was belief would matter. This belief originated in her childhood conflicts. And had she continued avoiding relationships, this crucial pattern may have remained hidden from her awareness. So Sarah eventually entered a relationship where she practiced new patterns of communication and boundary setting, which accelerated her growth in ways that hadn't been possible when she was single. So where's the balance? When is being single truly beneficial for self-development, and when might it be an avoidance disguised as self-work? Sometimes what we call working on myself can actually be a sophisticated form of avoidance. How so? Well, our brains are experts at creating reasonable sounding justifications for keeping us safe from perceived threats, including the vulnerability of relationships. Attachment theory, which was developed by John Bowlby and expanded by researchers like Dr. Sue Johnson, tells us that humans are wired for connection. From this perspective, healthy relationships aren't just nice to have, they're essential for our emotional well-being. It's actually through secure attachment that we develop resilience. So here are some indicators you may benefit from focusing on yourself before pursuing a relationship. Firstly, you consistently lose yourself, the sense of self in relationships. Secondly, you use relationships to escape difficult emotions or personal responsibilities. Thirdly, you have unresolved trauma that significantly impacts your ability to form healthy attachments. Fourth, you're recovering from a significant relationship and need time to process. And fifth, If you feel panicked at the thought of being alone or find yourself jumping from one relationship to another without pause, this may indicate an unhealthy dependence on relationships for emotional regulation, something best addressed while intentionally single. On the other hand, here are the signs that a relationship may actually support your growth. Firstly, you have a foundational understanding of your patterns and triggers. Secondly, you can genuinely maintain boundaries while remaining connected. Thirdly, you're willing to communicate and be vulnerable about your challenges. Fourth, you see relationships as partnerships for mutual growth rather than a source of validation. And actually, neuroscience shows us that our brains actually develop through relationships. The concept of co-regulation, where two nervous systems help calm and support each other, suggests that certain types of emotional healing happen most effectively in the context of secure connection. So, the key distinction is intention. Are you avoiding relationships because you're genuinely focused on healing, or is it because of fear and self-protection? From a hypnotherapeutic perspective, our subconscious often creates narratives that keep us safe but limited. The belief that I need to be perfectly healed before dating can sometimes be a subconscious protection against vulnerability and potential hurt. Now, let's explore practical techniques to foster self-love, regardless of your relationship status. So the first tool I have is the parts dialogue. This RTT technique helps you communicate with different aspects of yourself. So all you have to do is just close your eyes and just identify a part of yourself that feels resistant to love, either self-love or romantic love. And just imagine this part as a figure which is sitting across from you. Ask that part, what are you trying to protect me from? And just listen without judgment to the response that comes out. Don't force it, let it come out by itself. Now, just thank this part for its protection and ensure that you're developing new resources. Now, this approach draws from internal family systems therapy, which was developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz. Research shows that acknowledging these parts of ourselves reduces inner conflict and helps us integrate challenging emotions. And when we resist or shame these protective parts, they often become stronger in the protective strategies. So the second tool I have here is values alignment. So this NLP exercise helps ensure your choices align with your true self. So getting that piece of paper and the pen, create two columns. One is the core values and the other is how my relationship reflect these. So now I want you to list 5 to 7 non-negotiable values. Example, honesty, growth, freedom. And just evaluate how your current relationship status supports or hinders these values. Now, identify one specific action to better align your relationship choices with these values. Often our relationship choices are influenced more by cultural narratives than by our own authentic values. For instance, if you value creativity and spontaneity, a traditional relationship structure may feel constraining. This exercise will help you distinguish between what society tells you to want and what truly aligns with your own self. And the third tool I have here is the mirror technique. This technique builds self-compassion and breaks negative self-talk. This activity may seem a little bit silly at first, but bear with me. So just stand before a mirror for 2 minutes each day and look into your own eyes and with gentle attention give yourself a high five and say 3 things you appreciate about yourself. And just close it with, I am enough. Now time for the scientific explanation behind this little tool. Research by Dr. Kristen Neff shows that self-compassion practices activate our mammalian caregiving system, which releases oxytocin and reduces cortisol. So this mirror practice literally changes your brain's response to stress and self-judgment over time. And the fourth tool I have here is the relationship inventory exercise. This helps you identify patterns across your relationship history. So, just list your significant relationships, romantic and platonic, and for each note, what drew you in, what challenges emerged, and what did you learn? And you're looking for recurring themes or lessons. Ask yourself, what growth opportunity keeps presenting itself in my relationships? Now, this exercise often reveals that our relationships have been offering the same lesson in different packages. When we consciously recognize the pattern, we can engage with it directly rather than repeating it unconsciously. Remember, these practices work together these work whether you're single or in a relationship. The goal isn't to achieve perfect self-love before allowing connection, but to develop tools that support ongoing growth. Now, for the last part of the webinar, I'd like to guide you through a brief visualization to integrate what we've discussed today. So, just get into a comfortable position and gently close your eyes. As before, we'll do some breath work on my count, just allowing your body to relax with each exhale. So, let's start. Take a deep inhale in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Again, another inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And just one last time, inhaling through your nose, this time holding, and exhale through your mouth. Now imagine yourself standing in a beautiful garden. This garden represents your relationship with yourself. Look around and notice the areas that are flourishing, vibrant flowers, strong trees, clear pathways. These represent aspects of self-love you've already cultivated. And you may also notice areas that need attention, maybe overgrown paths or wilting plants. These represent aspects of your relationship with yourself that you're still developing. Now, just imagine a gate in this garden, and beyond this gate is a second garden that represents your connections with others. Notice how these gardens are distinct but connected. One doesn't need to be perfect before the other can exist. Now, just see yourself tending to both gardens, sometimes focusing on your own space, sometimes sharing the beauty of connection with others. There's a natural flow between these spaces. As you imagine this dual garden, just ask yourself, what one area of self-love would most benefit from my attention right now? And just allow an answer to come up all by itself. Now, consider, how might meaningful connection with others nurture this aspect of myself? And just notice what insights emerge. Imagine that you have all the resources you need to tend to both gardens. Picture yourself moving confidently between these spaces, knowing that nurturing yourself and connecting with others are complementary practices, not competing demands. Just see yourself planting new seeds in areas that need attention, and just appreciate how some of these seeds were actually given to you through your connections with others. Maybe someone's kindness taught you to be kinder to yourself, or someone's boundary helped you recognize your own needs. Take a moment to feel gratitude for both of these gardens, the sacred space of self and the precious gift of connection. Know that tending to both is part of a full, rich human experience. And when you're ready, gently return your awareness to the room, bringing with you these insights and the sense of balance. So as we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with the central truth. Self-love and relationships are not opposing forces. In fact, they're actually complementary aspects of human experience. The journey of self-love doesn't mean that you need to stay single. It invites discernment, and that's the key. The question isn't whether you should be in a relationship, but what kind of relationship supports your highest good and growth. A final research note: studies in positive psychology consistently show that healthy relationships are one of the strongest predicators of well-being and longevity. The key word is healthy relationships that allow for authenticity, growth, and mutual support. So just remember, self-love is an ongoing practice, not a destination. Relationships can accelerate certain aspects of growth and healing. Your intention matters more than your relationship status. Both solitude and connection offer unique gifts on your journey. And I encourage you to experiment with the tools we've discussed and notice what shifts in your relationship with yourself and others. And if you found value in today's webinar, I offer one-to-one sessions where we can explore your specific patterns and create personalized strategies for deepening self-love while nurturing meaningful connections. And as you leave today, I invite you to choose just one practice we've discussed, just one practice implemented this week. Small, consistent actions create meaningful change over time. And thank you for your presence and participation. I wish you a journey filled with both the peace of self-acceptance and the joy of authentic connection.